What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel for another 1/6 scale figure related video. Guys, today we got a really exciting one to talk about. Today we're taking a look at the InArt Wonderfest 2025 1/6 scale reveals, updates, some returning figures that we're finally seeing come back with some updates from 2023. Some really exciting stuff, and you may have seen it in the title. There's some updates and information. That's because InArt did do about a 2-hour live stream last night for us, and I asked them a ton of questions, so you don't have to. So I got a lot of updates, some information that maybe some of you guys were curious about, especially about these new reveals. Some of the stuff they answered pretty well, and other things they kind of ignored, so I think maybe they just don't know yet on some of the things I asked. But of course, as we go through these figures, any information related to them, I definitely want to share that with you guys. So as we go through these figures, if I have any info or additional information or any updates to share, of course I will do that. So starting it off right off the bat, as you could see, we have a newly revealed figure, a figure that I think they told us back in 2022 that they're going to work on. We have our BVS Batfleck here, and there's a lot of great things about this one that I want to talk about. Of course, I'm going to share my thoughts on everything as we go through it. I have a very zoomed in shot here, though, so we can get a good look at that cowl, which is a very important aspect of any Batman figure. I think the cowl's looking pretty good. Could it use some adjustments? Yes, and I will tell you, as we look at these photos, InArt did mention this is a early prototype. They did say that this figure may be announced next year. So May tells me it's still very early on. They still have a lot of adjustments to make, or maybe just fitting it into their current scheduling. So that's a bit disappointing. I will be honest about that, because it's been quite a while. Like I said, I think it was 2022 when they first said, hey, we're looking into doing a BVS figure for Batman. So keep that in mind. This one is quite a ways out still. So as we look at this prototype here, there's going to be some stuff I mentioned. This may be adjusted later. So looking at the mouth plate as well, I do think the likeness looks great. I love that sculpted in stubble. I will say, though, looking at the paint here on the mouth plate, it does look like a early prototype, like it was kind of rushed to kind of show this prototype for the event. I don't think this is like a polished mouth plate or production looking mouth plate. I think there's some improvements that need to be made on that paint, and I'm sure they will, but I just wanted to keep that in mind. Also, I think, you know, we're not going to get a full shot of the suit yet. You'll see that very shortly. I think looking at the suit, I love how the abdominal section looks. I love the traps. I think the chest maybe could use a bit more volume, but I am liking how that looks. The shading, especially in that abdominal area, looks very, very nice. I do think maybe the suit could be lightened up a little bit for my taste, and InArt did say they were adjusting that in the live stream, so I think we'll see that suit lightened up just a hair. Obviously, depending on the scene that these companies are basing these figures off of, you will get variances in the suit color and the color of the cowl and things like that. So just keep that in mind. But man, that trap area especially is looking really, really dope. Because as we know, Batfleck is just so beefed out. We look at the Hot Toys version. I mean, is he overly beefed up? Yes, but he looks freaking awesome. And that Frank Miller Batman inspiration is just so clear with this suit, and it looks so freaking good. Again, I do think the cowl looks nice. I do think it could use some adjusting, but so far so good. For an early prototype, I'm not mad at it. Now, this next photo that we're going to jump over to, guys, yeah, this is something that's a bit concerning to me, and I'm talking about the head sculpt, of course. Of course, I will zoom out, guys. I know I'm zooming into these photos, but this head sculpt, to me, needs a lot of work, and I've seen a lot of people that are kind of like, you know, split down the middle. I don't know. It's very early, like I said, but as it stands right now, I am not happy with this. I think the mouth area, especially, and the eyes, he looks kind of like a little droopy in the face. The hair is actually looking pretty nice, considering I haven't been a huge fan of InArt sculpted hair, kind of since the beginning of their start of their company. And I think this is one of the better, if not the best looking sculpted hair pieces they've done that actually involves any sort of fine strands or anything. But again, I just don't think it's quite there, and they do have a lot of time to fix it. Again, when it comes to the paint, does this look quite as unfinished as the mouth plate does? I don't think so, but I do think it needs some work. Something I want to talk about that I did ask, of course, I asked about the Bruce Wayne, because I remember many moons ago, John from InArt did say they were going to do a Bruce Wayne counterpart for this figure. InArt did say, yes, they do still have plans to show off a Bruce Wayne. They just don't have it quite ready yet. So fingers crossed we get to see that suited up Bruce Wayne, because I have passed on like the Topo kits and kind of utilizing that Hot Toys head sculpt, because they did mention that a while back, so keep that in mind. They do plan on still doing that. As we zoom out, though, I want to highlight some things that I really like about this figure and that I may consider improvements over the Hot Toys version. The proportions, and you'll see more as we look at more photos. I expected this, though. InArt has done a great job so far with proportions, making it look more like the actor and less like some over-exaggerated, like, superhero proportions. And I know some people kind of prefer that, and again, on that BVS 2.0 from Hot Toys, I actually really do love that about it. I love how bulky and massive he looks. It just looks very menacing. But that accuracy side that I love to play to as of late, I think Hot Toys kind of lost in the accuracy department here. I think InArt, even with this, what some may consider an early prototype, but they have had a lot of time to work on it, I think they really almost nailed these proportions. They do need to make some tweaks. Like I said, I think the chest, for me, looks a little bit undersized, but I love the belt, love the gauntlets, the thighs especially, you'll see in some of these other photos, and I think there are some that are zoomed a bit further back. The thighs look much more like Ben Affleck in the suit, and the overall proportions, I think, are improved when we're talking about looking more like actually Ben Affleck in the suit and not just Batman as a superhero. And again, those details on the gauntlets, we can zoom in. That's why I like the Windows photo viewer here. You can really zoom in super close and see all those details. Some really nice sculpted in details on the belt. Some nice sculpted in details on those gloves. I think, again, that is a big improvement over the Hot Toys version. And as we look really close on the suit, you can see a lot of really nice details, that kind of simulated rippling in the suit. I think that looks really nice. I imagine the fabric that is used for this suit, because I don't know if that was really touched on during the stream, because a lot of people were asking, and I personally never heard it. I think it's probably going to be similar to the Superman, so let's have that expectation. Is probably going to be similar to their Superman suit material, potentially even closer to the corn sweat Superman, just based on looks. But man, some really nice details on that. I want to get closer up on that cowl as well. Again, I love how close you can get with this Windows photo viewer. But as you can see, not terrible in terms of the paint on the mouth plate. I think it's just a bit unfinished. It looks a bit like, you know, some people would say third-party-ish. I don't know if that's fair, but yeah, not a huge fan of how the paint's looking right now, but basing it on my own personal experience, not with this particular figure, but with many other InArt figures, the final product paint looks very nice, so I think that it's going to turn out just fine. But yeah, the cowl so far, I think, could use a little bit of work, but I do like this cowl a bit more than the Hot Toys version. I think the overall shape is a little bit better. Maybe it needs to be a little bit thicker, because for some reason Ben Affleck just looked super thick in the head. Maybe he gained a little bit more weight in BVS, and I know the suit kind of changes as his weight fluctuates throughout the filming of the film. But man, good start, and I think the likeness on the mouth plate is very good. I'm very happy with that. Again, the head sculpt, maybe not so much. I mean, you know, to be fair, this suit does look a bit lighter colored here, so the lighting can kind of play to that. This lighting is obviously very blown out, so this is like the worst way to show off a figure, because it just kind of blows out all the details. Obviously, the mouth plate looks a bit ridiculous here because it's so blown out. It looks very cakey and fake, but you can see here in this lighting, I mean, it does look a bit lighter colored and kind of closer to what I was expecting. So maybe when they adjust the color of the suit, it's going to be a very, very minor change, because here, not so bad. I think it looks pretty close to the film. Here's another shot of the suit with the head sculpt. Again, yeah, the head sculpt, you kind of lose me there, and I do have some comparisons to the Hot Toys sculpt. Some savage went to the event and was holding his Hot Toys sculpt and cowl up to this figure, so shout out to that person. That is just hilarious to me, but such an awesome thing to do, because obviously a lot of us were curious, so we will see that here very shortly. But again, man, despite my thoughts on that head sculpt, the overall proportions on this body look really, really good. Obviously some tweaks can be made, but man, what a great start. Again, I know some can argue like it should be mostly ready at this point, because it's been years since they initially teased that they were going to do this figure, but I digress. Again, that head sculpt, man. So I mentioned this earlier. Like I said, that absolute savage of a person going, and shout out to Toy Armor, holding up the Hot Toys cowl and the Hot Toys head sculpt next to it. As you can see, I mean, we do have two different expressions here on the mouth plates, and to be fair, This BVS 2.0 cowl from Hot Toys, I do not think it's even close to the worst cowl they've ever done. I think they did a fairly decent job, albeit it's not perfect. But seeing it next to the InArt cowl, I do think there's some details in the InArt cowl that I like more, especially that kind of slope to the top of the cowl and the ear shape as well. Again, I do think that maybe InArt could widen their cowl a little bit. But generally speaking, I do think InArt did a pretty good job so far with this prototype. And again, you know, shout out to Hot Toys, and I love the fact that Hot Toys did that rotatable cowl. I will never use that personally, but I thought it was very clever to include that. So definitely kudos to Hot Toys on that. As it stands right now, with the Hot Toys sculpts next to the InArt sculpt, I definitely personally think that the Hot Toys sculpt looks more like Ben Affleck. Now, I will say, although I think it looks more like Ben Affleck, I do think that the Hot Toys eyes next to this InArt version, they do have that beadiness that a lot of people have pointed out. But generally speaking, when it comes to the likeness, I think it looks more like Ben Affleck. And of course, I do have this figure in hand, so I kind of have that in-hand experience. And I think it does look better, personally. Also, I think the hair on the Hot Toys one, surprisingly, next to this one, I think the InArt hair looks a little bit better. But the nice thing is about the Hot Toys when you do have those swap out hair pieces, so you can play to that and kind of adjust it how you want it. But yeah, so far I do prefer the Hot Toy sculpt. And again, it is, shout out to this guy. This is crazy. I'm surprised that InArt didn't say like, hey, what are you doing? I don't know if he was just quick with it or they didn't really care. Who knows? But yeah, really, really cool that he was able to do that. Moving on, guys, to another shot of the Affleck fully suited up look. Man, like I said, they have done a great job here with those proportions. Again, me personally, I think the chest should be a little bit more full. But apart from that, and I'll zoom out, the thighs, what a big improvement on the thighs. That's like really my main complaint with the Hot Toys one when it comes to the proportions. Apart from them being a bit over exaggerated, I think that the Hot Toys thighs are just entirely too big. And maybe it was to match those like superhero-esque proportions. But here, I think InArt has just kind of dialed in more of the Affleck-like proportions as opposed to the overblown superhero look. But again, not to take away anything from the Hot Toys, because I do love how that figure looks. I was very impressed by it. But this just looks more accurate to me. And again, if they make a few adjustments like they mentioned, adjusting the details on the cowl and the suit and things like that, I think we're going to see a super, super solid offering from InArt. And as it stands right now, I do prefer the overall proportions and look of this figure here. So when it comes to the Catwoman, InArt did say this will probably be their next pre-order. I gotta be honest with you, I think the body looks fantastic, and for this one I am gonna have to pull up a little video, and I'm sorry, all of these videos that were taken at the event for the most part were in vertical mode. Even InArt did their stream in vertical mode. Maybe that was just easier to film, I don't know, but the body, they said, is a completely newly developed body for this figure, and I didn't mention this for Batman, but the same for the Batman as well. They said this is a specially designed body specifically for this figure. And unfortunately, photo-wise, like I said, I only have a photo from the side. I lost the other photos, and I literally looked everywhere for them, couldn't find them. But I think you guys will see from the front, I don't think the lightness is quite there. I don't know why, but just generally across the board, everyone has had issues with this Anne Hathaway likeness. Even like, you know, JND, you know, they did 2 versions of Hathaway, and I do think their suited version of Hathaway does look probably the best. I hate to say it because I'm not a big fan of J&D's stuff in 1/6, but I think their Hathaway likeness so far is the best when it comes to the suited version. But no one has quite nailed it. Even like the 1/12 offerings from LPZZ and InArt that were showed off at this event, they both looked very derpy to me. And this one I wouldn't consider derpy. I just don't think it's quite there for Anne Hathaway, but generally speaking, though, I think the body looks awesome. The proportions look great. Better than, you know, the Hot Toys, you know, reissue, if we'll call it that, because I don't think they made too many improvements on it. But I will pull up that video real quick so you can get a better and a more fair look at the likeness and everything. Again, sorry about the vertical video, but as you can see, the overall head sculpt, proportions of the figure, the body looks fantastic. Those high-heeled boots, I think, look really nice. Again, the likeness for me, I don't think it's terrible. I wouldn't consider it like kind of derpy looking like the 1/12 versions that we just saw, but I just don't think it's quite there. Something about the nose and the eyes just aren't quite right. I do want to see her masked up, though. I think, you know, with a lot of these Catwoman figures in 1/6, having that mask, those goggles on, definitely helps. So we'll see how that turns out. But again, this is what we're going to get. This is the figure that's going to be going up for pre-order, as they said during the live stream, very soon. So keep that in mind. There's not going to be any adjustments made unless they really get a bunch of feedback that a lot of people don't like this. I mean, you guys may like it, I don't know, but just my thoughts on it. I'm not hugely sold on this head sculpt yet. And I'll zoom in real quick on this one photo that I have, and I think we can all kind of agree from the side here, at least most of us maybe. I don't want to assume anything, but I think from the side here, the nose and the eyes especially, they just look a bit odd. But again, hopefully those goggles and the mask are our saving grace. Maybe it'll look a little bit better with those put on. So here's a look at the Chainsaw Man figure from InArt. I have no skin in the game when it comes to this. I don't know anything about the show or about the character. I think he looks cool, and I know there's a lot of Chainsaw Man stuff, like from Asmus and 3-0. But yeah, no interest in this show whatsoever. I wish I can kind of share additional thoughts about accuracy and things like that, but I would not be the one to ask for that. But I do think he looks cool. I like the design of the character. So here we have our Half-Blood Prince Snape. I know a lot of people have this on pre-order, including myself. I want to zoom in on this photo because I know it's a little bit blurry as we zoom in, and I may have another shot of him in these photos. I'm not sure. He's kind of cross-eyed, and that's like InArt's fault as they were setting it up. Clearly, they didn't adjust the eyes properly. As you can see here, the eyes are all kind of messed up there. But I will say, I think the hair looks excellent. I think some people were saying that they thought something was off about the likeness. I can't agree. I think this looks just like Alan Rickman. I think it looks fantastic. And as we back up again, you can see the robes, I think, are looking really nice. I'm not a huge fan of this pose, but you could see also in this left corner, and I do have other photos of him, we do have the newly adjusted head sculpt for Draco Malfoy, and I will say it is a very nice improvement over that original prototype sculpt because that was not very good, and I'm glad that they listened to us because a lot of people, including myself, were like, yeah, this looks terrible, you need to adjust this. So I'm glad that they went back and adjusted that. I have other photos of him as well as we go through these Harry Potter photos, and it never gets old looking at the trio together here. I have all these figures currently in my collection, all the rooted hair versions, of course, and man, they just look absolutely beautiful. What an awesome collection from InArt. So I did ask some questions to InArt regarding the Harry Potter line, and they basically said to me, I was like, are you going to be doing more figures after Dumbledore? Because you will see the Richard Harris Dumbledore has returned with some changes to the outfit and everything. I said, will you be doing more figures after Dumbledore? And they said yes, and they said you'll just have to wait and see. So it's going to be quite a bit. When it comes to the Dumbledore, I did ask about the potential pre-order date. They said probably next year. So I will be honest, it's a bit, bit of a letdown, bit concerning that everything is a probably or a maybe for next year. You would think a lot of this stuff they're showing off, especially the Dumbledore, which was originally revealed in 2023, you would think he would be ready because apparently he is the next pre-order for Harry Potter. But also, I want to zoom in on that Draco Malfoy. I know it's a bit pixelated as we get closer, but you get the idea. You get to see the general likeness. I think this is a nice improvement over that original prototype sculpt for sure. And here is the figure that I've been waiting to talk about for Harry Potter, the Richard Harris Dumbledore. Long overdue, in my opinion. I don't know why they took so long to bring this back out to these events, but obviously they've made some changes to the outfit. They've updated their techniques for the beard and the hair. And a lot of people have said, like, oh, InArt, if they redid the Gandalf today, he would look so much better. And that figure, to me, still looks fantastic. But I do agree, like, as we zoom in here, number one, that likeness is just absolutely fantastic. Even amongst all that hair and the beard, you could see that likeness, but holy crap, this is so exciting, and this just brings joy to my inner child as someone who's a massive fan of this franchise, and hearing probably next year made me so sad because I was hoping this would make it before December. But man, that likeness is beautiful. I want to see all of those accessories pop back up again with Fawkes the Phoenix and all the other things that they showed originally in 2023. But man, what a beautiful looking figure. I actually love that pose. Very simple, but it looks great. That likeness from every angle just looks absolutely fantastic. And you can see Snape back there looking a little creepy. But again, I think the Snape still looks very good. I don't understand the discrepancies all of a sudden with the likeness. Probably just the lighting at this event was just throwing some people off. I don't know anything about Lord of the Rings, guys, so please bear with me. I think this is Thorin. This figure actually did get improved quite a bit. Obviously, this is already up for pre-order. I remember this was amongst those other figures from 2023, and this is very much improved from that original prototype. I think he looks awesome. Again, no skin in the game, but what a great looking overall piece. I think he looks awesome. Here's a quick shot of Legolas in this really cool diorama display that they put on here at the show. I think he looks fantastic. That likeness to Orlando Bloom is really spectacular, and it just really makes me want a proper rooted hair Will Turner figure. Oh, man, I would love to see that. Here's Nazgul on the horse. This is now shipping as well, slowly but surely, like everything else. I think he looks awesome. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry if I mispronounced that, but what a cool looking piece. As far as I understand, some people are like, you got to have at least 8 or more. Yeah, that would be crazy to dedicate all that money and space, but if you have it, that's going to be quite the display. Here we have a shot of the smooth criminal Michael Jackson. InArt did say, and I don't know if we needed to hear this because we were just kind of making that assumption. They said that for sure, you know, when these figures start shipping, you will be able to safely hit this pose. I don't know if I trust it. I asked them if the base was weighted, and I had asked another question. I did say, are you guys still planning on moving forward with another variant, another look for Michael Jackson? They said absolutely yes, they have plans for another Michael Jackson figure, and it could be 1, 2, 3 more, who knows. They didn't comment on that, but I did ask if the base was weighted to make sure that this doesn't fall over when he's in this pose. They didn't comment on that, so I guess maybe that's to be determined. But yeah, this looks awesome. I don't know if I will trust my figure in this pose because I've had issues with some of the earlier InArt figures falling over, and I think that's why most figures now from them have both magnets and that little metal crotch grabber. But yeah, I probably won't, as cool as this is, trust my figure in this pose. Guys, I gotta be honest with you. When we're talking about most improved prototypes from that 2023 event, holy shit, does the Clark Kent and the 78 Superman as well look so freaking good, so improved. Not only on the head sculpts, but the suit details and the proportions on the body of the 78 Superman in particular are so freaking good. They did say they made a fully custom body for that figure. I think it kind of goes without saying, but InArt did say that you will be able to do the Superman suit reveal as they're showing here with this figure. Of course, I'm sure the shirt probably buttons up or magnets together so you can kind of have him in that standard Clark Kent look with the hat. But at this event, they did not show him with the hat like they did with that original prototype in 2023. But holy shit, I think these head sculpts are freaking spot on. I mean, this is, it brings joy to my heart. As a DC fan, as a Christopher Reeve Superman fan, this is freaking awesome. And I think so many people are going to be so excited for this one. Just what an iconic look. That logo reveal, the fabric patch that they've done for that looks fantastic. Kind of the stitch bordering around it looks fantastic. That likeness is superb, and don't worry, I have more photos of those. Yeah, I mean, I'm at a loss for words, guys. Really, such an improved head sculpt. That original head sculpt looks so bad to me. I think that was like one of InArt's worst head sculpts. It had this weird, like, flared nostril look going on to it, and the eyes were wrong. Everything was just bad. And they've gone from that to what I consider a near perfect head sculpt. I think this looks beautiful. Obviously, a lot of people have brought up that gap in the neck. I hope they true that up. That does look a bit odd from the side. Not a huge deal if it's adjustable. I'm not sure because obviously we don't have this figure in hand. But backing up, they've really like nailed Christopher Reeve's like lanky looking body, because at the time this was all Christopher Reeve. This wasn't like some of the modern Superman suits where they have a lot of musculature added to them. This is all Christopher Reeve, and it's actually crazy with this custom body what they've been able to do. And you'll see in some of the further back shots, this is a bit more saturated obviously, but you get my point. You could see the body here looks great, the suit looks great. It's actually just wild to me. I think for me, when it comes to accuracy and how on point the prototypes were during this event, I think Christopher Reeve, Clark Kent, and Superman take the cake for me. They have done such a fantastic job with these prototypes. That head sculpt, oh, it's glorious. It looks so freaking good. Here's a further back shot up of Clark Kent looking awesome. Like I said, I love that you could do that reveal. I mean, this is how I'm going to pose mine. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to include that hat sculpt, if I had to guess, and no one asked this, and honestly, unfortunately, I didn't think to ask this during the event. I would think that they're going to include 2 sculpts with the Clark Kent. It did seem like this is going to be a 2-pack with the Superman and the Clark Kent. So that's going to be really cool. Probably very expensive, but I'm all in for this one. Like I said, guys, I want to zoom in a little bit more just to admire this head sculpt, and this overall figure just looks freaking great. And I will say the paint on this, to me, looks much more detailed with the blushing on the knuckles and on the sculpt and all those details, more so than like that BVS Batfleck. Looking at the Corn Sweat Superman, I know we've seen plenty of him. I think he's looking awesome as well. Love the shading on the suit and those suit details. I still think his abs are popping through a little bit too much. I think they should adjust that, but generally speaking, those proportions and the suit color and everything, even in this darker lighting, I think looks really, really nice. And I do prefer the InArt main sculpt over the Hot Toys one for sure. I think it looks much more like David Corn Sweat. Here's the unfortunate bit of news. I did ask if there would be any more figures from the 2025 Superman film. They said at this time they have zero plans to do anything else. So Hot Toys, fingers crossed, we're going to get Mr. Terrific and maybe Guy Gardner, Hawk Girl. You know, I'd love to see that, but neither of these companies have shown any other interest in anything else. So I'm really hoping at least for Mr. Terrific, because Mr. Terrific was just freaking awesome in this film. So a bit unfortunate, but the figure is looking awesome. Now here's something very special, and you know, there's been a lot of speculation. We know that InArt has had interest in the Terminator license, and I've told you guys many times, and, you know, shout out to Jose Plus as well. He did confirm a lot of this information at the InArt showing over at SDCC this year. But InArt did say many times they were getting the T1 license, the Terminator 1 license, and obviously now we're seeing that they did. And InArt did show off not only a clean version of the Terminator from Terminator 1, but also a battle damage version. Now, I did ask, I know this is the question everybody's going to ask, because you have two completely different looks with the battle damage and the clean version here. I did ask, they did confirm this will not be a 2-pack, which I think is not a good idea. They're giving us all of the swap out battle damage parts with the alternate sculpt, the ripped shirt, you know, you name it, all the battle damage stuff will come as alternate parts. For cost reasons, obviously a lot of people are probably happy about that. For me, as someone who loves this franchise, I would have preferred a 2-pack. Obviously, that could be subject to change. It does seem like these prototypes are very early on as well. They didn't really make it seem like these were going to go up anytime soon. I think that's going to be the case for a lot of this stuff, unfortunately. I think the head sculpt is mostly there. I do want to see more. I think they could improve on it a little bit. I have seen some people comment on the proportions, saying he should have been a little bit beefier. Obviously, Arnold's weight did change a lot. He went from a 7-time Mr. Olympia, and he did obviously trim down over the years as he filmed these movies. So he was a bit bigger, obviously, in Terminator 1 than he was in Terminator 2. I do think they can improve it a little bit. Do I think it is completely off? No. Seeing it in the pose that he's in now, it does remind me a lot of how he looked in this film. I think the shades actually look awesome. That's like a big aspect of the look for me personally. Maybe the head is a little bit too high on that neck. I don't know if that'll be adjustable. But the coat itself is real leather, which is awesome. Obviously, we do assume that with InArt because they do kind of hone in on those details and make sure that they give us the best possible materials possible. So I like to see that. Here's that battle damage version. It's actually crazy when you look at this sculpt, because at first glance, you may think to yourself, as someone who's on the outside looking in, maybe you haven't seen this film, or maybe you need a refresher. Obviously, the prosthetics in this film weren't as good as the technology and everything that was used in Terminator 2, so this looks to me just like those wonky prosthetics that were used, and you could see the battle damage swap out parts. You've got a shirt with blood stains and kind of showing that visible damage underneath on the body. You've got an alternate head sculpt. You've got this jacket here with all the holes in it. Again, it is real leather. But this looks awesome to me. Again, you know, maybe you could argue that this should be a little bit beefier, but generally speaking, I think this is a great start. I wanted the tech noir look. I'll be honest with you guys. That's what I was really hoping for, but there's still very much hope that Hot Toys, especially with this 25 years of Hot Toys, they're going to go back and redo that tech noir look, because Hot Toys is going absolutely ham on the Terminator 2 line. So fingers crossed that they go through and do some new Terminator 1 stuff. I would love to see a Kyle Reese as well. That would be sick. But this is really cool, guys. To see more Terminator figures, here's a bit different lighting. To see more Terminator figures, really, you know, we're getting spoiled right now. Hot Toys just announced their Terminator 2 endoskeleton, and they've done a great job on all of the releases so far from that line. So to see InArt jumping in with T1, I did ask guys, because again, a lot of people have been speculating, InArt said they do not have the Terminator 2 license, and I guess they have no plans of acquiring it at this time, because they very much probably cannot. Obviously, Hot Toys probably has that on lock. I also asked, and another person asked, if these will be worldwide license. They did not comment on that. So I am to assume they either don't know that yet, or they probably won't be. So we will see, obviously, as we get closer to the announcement of this figure, or these figures, I should say. But as of right now, it seems like this is not going to be worldwide license, if I had to make an assumption. Right off the bat, I know the question everybody's going to have, is this die cast? I asked InArt, they said this is fully metal. They said it's from head to toe, this is full die cast. And that to me is freaking awesome. I think it looks pretty dang solid. The one thing I do want to comment on, I do think these square feet here look overly large. I think they need to adjust that a little bit. But holy shit, a fully die cast 1/6 scale endoskeleton, that is freaking awesome. I don't have the video pulled up just in the sake of time, because I know this is already going to be a really long video. But the light up eyes are actually activated by a magnet. So they showed in the event you can hold up the light to the head and it activates the eyes. I think that's super dope. But man, that looks cool. Here's another shot, and these photos are a little bit scattered. Here's another shot in different lighting of that T800. Looking really awesome. Again, I love they nailed that pose, that iconic pose with the spaz shotgun in his hand, just kind of at his side. Here's a close-up. I liked this photo only because you could see the eye, which is very iconic for the first film, through those glasses. I think the likeness is fairly decent. I do want to see more, maybe with the glasses off, just to see more of those details on the main sculpt especially. But man, this endoskeleton is beautiful, guys. Absolutely beautiful. More photos, obviously, of the T800. Another closer up shot of that endoskeleton. This thing is going to be weighty. They didn't say anything about what it comes with, but I imagine we'll see only a small amount of accessories with that one, because usually you really can't include too much with them. And here we are, guys, seeing Daryl Dixon again, finally. Some updates from InArt. They did say they are sticking with the Season 8 version. I know they mentioned not long ago that Norman Reedus' team was kind of fighting them on that. They wanted to see his look from the show. Nobody wanted that shit. Nobody wanted to see his look from the show. I'm sorry, I should say most people. We want that iconic motorcycle vest look, and I'm so glad that InArt has confirmed we're getting that Season 8 look. They did also say we should be seeing this up for pre-order, hopefully within the next month. There is an RSVP up on their website currently for this if you want to go RSVP for that. And obviously, you can purchase it directly from InArt worldwide. This is a worldwide license. They did say the tattoo details on the forearm are very, very accurate. They said when they originally showed their most recent prototype prior to this to Norman Reedus' team, they wanted those tattoos and they wanted them to be right, so they did add that. I did ask, is this like a silicone seamless body? Just for clarification to be sure. Obviously, they are probably just swap out forearms, but they did not comment on that at this time. But I would venture to say they're not doing any sort of like bendable fingers like J&D or anything. These are probably swap out forearms, if I had to be a guessing man. Shot of Negan here. Obviously, we've seen a lot of official pics of him. I think he looks great. This is the strongest looking of the bunch, in my opinion. Those proportions to Jeffrey Dean Morgan with that like slightly saggy look to the pants around the waist. It's just very, very impressive. He looks awesome. Another shot of Daryl here. I did try to get them to turn the figure around so we could see the back of the vest, and they said we cannot touch the figures. I never understood that. I get it, like you don't want to mess it up for display, but they were showing like the magnetic function and stuff on the T800 endoskeleton, so I was really hoping they would show us the back of that, but they did not. They did comment on the bases. Someone had asked, why do all the bases say Walking Dead and not the name of the character? They basically said like the licensor wanted that, but also they liked that idea because the bases could kind of be interchanged with the figures and still kind of fit in without having the wrong name for the character. I don't know if that's just an excuse, but I don't hate it. You know, I think it looks pretty cool and it's pretty uniform having that Walking Dead there at the bottom. I think Rick looks awesome here. I do think when it comes to the overall likeness, for me, he's probably like third in line when it comes to accuracy of the likeness, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think he looks awesome. Regarding this figure, though, guys, I'm curious, how many of you would want a custom set for the murder jacket look? I did bring it up to Topo, and they said, like, you know, would it sell if we ended up doing that? And I'm like, I think it would. So comment down below, would you get a custom set for this figure to recreate, in my opinion, the best look for Rick, which is that murder jacket look with the machete holster and everything. Again, man, Negan is looking fantastic. I'm just super, super happy with how he turned out. Here are the Wukong figures. We have the fourth sister here, which she just got recently revealed. The main Wukong figure, which is already now starting to reship again. We're not going to spend too much time on these. Here we have a look at the 2-day limited pre-order only directly through InArt. This is that broken shell alternate look. This is really cool. This is from what I understand towards the end of the game. It is a very similar figure to the one that was just recently announced and now shipping. So keep that in mind. You're not getting a drastically different figure, but if you are a huge fan of this franchise, I think this is probably going to be a pretty pricey figure in the future because it is only limited to 2 days. You can only pre-order it right now up on their website. So keep that in mind. If you're going to get this, you need to get it now because I don't think any other retailers are going to get it. So that's going to be a pretty rare figure. I do think that evil look in the eyes is a really nice change, and I think that looks pretty dope. I don't know how many people are going to pre-order this one. I imagine it'll probably be a pretty light pre-order. But InArt probably knew that because it's just a 2-day window figure. So here we have our Wonder Woman, guys. Now, I will say I do think the hair looks much better here. It looks less like wispy and less like overly wet. I do think the likeness looks better here as well. I will also say I asked InArt, will there be any additional revisions made to this head sculpt? They said no, there will not. This is final. So if you were waiting to pre-order this and what you see here you're not happy with, just keep in mind, and I'll zoom in a little bit, this is what you're going to get. This is what's going to ship from InArt. I do think this looks better than it did for sure. Is it perfect still? No. It does still have that like somewhat of like an uncanny valley look to it, but the hair to me looks excellent here. A much more improved look for the hair especially. Obviously we did see they pulled the video down on Justin's channel because I guess the backlash was just so heavy. They did pull down the video, so we're obviously curious to see. It was kind of up in the air what they were going to do with this figure. I mentioned this before, but I stand by it. I think the body looks excellent. I'm definitely a huge fan of how the body looks. And again, the head sculpt, it's just not perfect to me. It's not terrible. I thought originally that I really hated it, but now seeing any changes potentially that they've made here, or maybe the different lighting, I don't know. I have to compare them, but I do think it looks much better than it did before. It's just not perfect. I don't think they quite nailed Gal Gadot, unfortunately. But guys, I know this has been a very long video. Sorry it took so long, but I wanted to share all that information, all those updates with you. So of course, feel free to skim through, share your thoughts on any updates we've seen. Again, for the most part, I shared everything I knew about these figures that they had answered during the stream. It seems like, honestly, guys, it seems like they're going harder on 1/12 now. I mean, their 1/12 showing was honestly overwhelming. There was a lot of shit. But unfortunately, again, with most of these figures, as we asked, like, when are they going up for pre-order? They basically said potentially next year, you know, so. And just for a quick recap, the 2 figures that will be going up for pre-order very soon are the Daryl Dixon from The Walking Dead and our Anne Hathaway Catwoman. So unfortunately, everything else is kind of up in the air, and they kind of made it seem like they don't even know when it's gonna go up for pre-order. So just keep that in mind. It's gonna be quite a while. It's so exciting to see like that Clark Kent and the Christopher Reeve and everything, but it's gonna be a while. No other mention of any other figures as far as I know. A lot of people were asking questions, mostly about 1/12, believe it or not, but I was in those comments asking all kinds of questions. So that's going to wrap it up, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are on this showing from InArt in the comments down below. Is there anything that you were hoping to be shown that didn't get shown, like Daenerys or, you know, maybe Jon Snow? Or, you know, there's just so much stuff that we're hoping for from InArt and stuff that they've teased and mentioned in the past. We're going to end off here with a close-up show of that Gal Gadot Wonder Woman. Thank you so much for watching. See ya.